What's up, y'all? It's exam day. Woo! Here I am getting some brain fuel. Y'all already know I'm about to make my coffee, just chatting it up with my husband, all the fun stuff. And now I'm sitting down at my desk to start my day. And I'm actually going to start off with some gross anatomy review. So here I am just waking up with some coffee and going over gross anatomy lecture. The two tests that I have for the day are actually physiology and biomechanics, but since I felt fairly good about those, I wanted to review something that I wasn't feeling as confident in. So that's what I'm doing here. And now I'm going to go outside, get a little sunlight. I love to do that as much as I can throughout the day. And here you'll see me applying one of my favorite combos, especially for an exam day, and that is rosemary essential oil and breathe again. Hey everyone, I just wanted to check in and let y'all know that I finished my physiology exam. I wanted to take that one first because I knew it was going to be the most intense, and while I didn't think it was too terrible, I haven't found out my grade yet, so that'll be the true indicator of how it went. But later on I'm going to take my biomechanics exam and I will check in after that, and then we'll do the Q&A with all the questions that y'all submitted through my Instagram stories. But first, I'm gonna go work out, and I'll see y'all after. All right, after a good workout, I'm going to sit down, drink my post-workout protein, and today we have an assembly credit opportunity with Parker, and Student Senate hosted a business night where Dr. Langmaid, otherwise known as the evidence-based chiropractor, spoke to Parker students about business. So it was a great learning opportunity that I really wanted to attend, and I'm glad I did. And then after that, I will start my test. And I don't know if y'all can tell, but I definitely talk to myself throughout my tests. I like to talk through things, talk through the questions. I'm sure y'all have noticed that by now.
Hey everybody, so I am done with my last test of the day, and that test was biomechanics. It went okay. I wouldn't say it went as good as it could have gone, but it definitely went okay. And if you're like me and you struggle with being too hard on yourself with grades, then let's just take a deep breath for a second. Ready? it's going to be okay, because we're still going to be doctors of chiropractic. That's the end goal. That's what we're going to focus on. We're not going to get wrapped up in every single little grade that we make. We are going to be doctors of chiropractic, and that is what's important. So just focus on that if you're like me and can get caught up on maybe not doing as good as you wanted to on an assignment or a test. And at the end of the day, if you know that you did the best that you could, there's nothing more you can do. So move on from it. But anyways, right now I am heading over to my girl Sky's house. We're gonna work on some palpations and practice, which I'm really excited about. So I get to practice on my husband, but it's really nice to get to work together with other students, because they really know what's going on and they can pretty much tell you, oh, that doesn't feel right, or oh, yeah, I think that's right, or whatever it may be. So I'm really excited about that. But thank y'all so much for tuning into this video. I am going to do the Q&A next, so let's jump into it. Hello everybody. Welcome to my bedroom. We are going to dive into these questions. I've already got them pulled up. I'm ready to go. I've got my water. Oh no. I think somebody's fire alarm was going off, or smoke alarm, but we're good, we're good. Okay, so I've got them pulled up. I've got my water, and grab your favorite drink. Water is not my favorite drink, but it's like 8:30 at night, so I don't really want to have any more caffeine, and we're just gonna get into it. So here we go. Question number 1 is asking, what class are you in? I am not sure if this person is referring to what classes I'm in or like where I'm at in the program, but I'm gonna choose to answer that one. So I am a Tri 2 student in the Doctor of Chiropractic program at Parker University. Okay, question number 2, what study method is your favorite or most efficient? That's a great question because it varies for each class. Man, I should probably plan on doing a more in-depth video, maybe per class that I'm taking. But usually the most efficient way for me to study is to look at the learning objectives that the professors actually post. And usually they post these maybe in like the folder, week 8 folder or week 9 folder, whatever week you're in. Or they'll post it in their actual PowerPoint presentations, maybe on the first or second slide. It'll say learning objectives, and then it will highlight the very important points of that lecture. And that's honestly the most effective way for me to study, especially if I have a class that I really feel completely overwhelmed in. Or it's just a lot of information for a test. I will refer back to those learning objectives and use those as my guide to study. Obviously, if a class or a professor posts a study guide, I'm going to use that like most of the time. Rarely have I gotten a study guide from a professor that I look at and don't use. But other than that, yeah, I would say my most efficient way to study is learning objectives or study guides that they provide. Okay. How did you organize yourself for all of the tests? How did I? I don't know. Did I organize? Okay, well, at the beginning of the trimester, I will put all of the test dates into my calendar. And then at Parker University, we have class officers. And so our secretary specifically will, shout out Jessica, she's amazing. And she will send us, our vice president is Mira too, she will send out basically the important dates for each week. So every single Sunday we get an email of the week that's coming up with all of the important dates. So our test dates, our assignment due dates, all of that. And on the days before the test, I mean, you know, our officers are sending in, don't forget we have a test tomorrow, or we have 3 tests tomorrow, or 2 tests tomorrow, however many tests we have. So I basically keep it organized. I already have it in my calendar, and then I will, when I get that email, I will put it, I can show you guys actually. So today's Saturday, and I have completed everything except for one thing that's due next week. I had already put it into my little reminders, but on my phone, I have my reminders, and usually this is filled up with stuff. All of the assignments, all of the test dates, etc. But as you can see, I only have one thing left to do this week, and technically it's not even due until Monday, but ignore that. So that's what I'll do, and I'll refer to this reminders list, and every time I do something, I will go in and check it off. So this past week, I had 4 exams listed. I had the times of them listed. So that's how I stay organized with what tests are coming up. I look at my calendar and I look at my reminders list just so that I am aware of when these tests are. Now, organizing for the test study-wise, I would say it varies per class again. And some professors, you have to be majorly keeping up with the coursework. And I would say all of the courses you should be, keeping up with it. But there are definitely those classes like gross anatomy, physiology, biomechanics that I am trying to keep up with. Almost every single day I'm doing a little bit, if not a lot, in each of those classes, and microbiology. Now biochem this semester has been way better for me. So I have not had to be on it every single day. I study biochem like 2 or 3 days out of the week. And then as we get closer to tests, I ramp that up. Okay. I hope that answered that question. That was kind of a hard one to answer because I'm not sure if you're talking about calendar wise or if you're talking about studying, but okay, the next question says, not test related, but I would love a post or vlog on navigating student loans for chiropractic school. Whoa. Yes, this is such an important topic, and I have mad respect for the people who do post and talk about it, and I'm totally open to doing that because it is so overwhelming, or seems that way. One of the biggest tips I will recommend is start familiarizing yourself with what you need to do. So start reaching out to your financial aid department at whatever school you're interested in, bugging them and asking them, what do I need to have done? What do I need to do? Okay, I did this. Do I need to do anything more? I mean, really, you might think, oh, I'm being annoying, but I personally would rather be annoying when it comes to student loans than not and miss something. So go ahead and start reaching out to the financial aid department, familiarizing yourself with what you need to be doing and what you need to get done. That way you're ahead of the game. But I can definitely do a whole post or vlog on that if y'all want. Okay, let me know in the comments below if you want that. I'll be happy to answer some questions about that. Okay. Next question, how you prepped and for how long, how you balance it. Again, am I balancing? I don't know. Okay, well, how I prepped and for how long. So for me, it's different for everybody, which is the beauty of chiropractic school. You'll meet people and hear how they're studying for certain things, and you're just gonna be like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I admire that you can only study for an hour, or that you can only listen to a lecture and know it all. Or that I admire that you stayed up until 1 a.m. to study all of that. It's amazing that you powered through and were able to do that. It's really cool to see everybody's study habits. But for me, prepping for exams looks like, so let's say I have a lecture on a Tuesday and I listen to that lecture. I either listen to it live or I listen to it recorded. And then after, I take notes on my iPad with the lecture notes. It's the beauty of having an iPad. I can just download the notes from Blackboard, have them there, take notes while the professor is speaking. Anyways, after that, typically the classes that I have lecture for, like I said, on a Tuesday, for example, on Tuesday, after class is over, I won't usually look at that information again until the next day. So if I have physiology on Tuesday, we're just gonna go with this example, which I do technically. If I have physiology on Tuesday, I'm gonna, watch that lecture, whether it's live or recorded, take notes on it, and then not look at physiology again until Wednesday. So after I'm done with my lecture, I will look at a class that maybe I didn't have a live lecture for that day. For example, biochem. I don't have biochem until Thursday, but on Tuesday, after I finish all of my live lectures, maybe I'll go ahead and watch a pre-recorded lecture that biochem has, so that way I'm a little bit more prepared or ahead of the game for Thursday. Is this making sense? Y'all, I feel like I'm just talking in circles. I really hope this is making sense for you. Okay, so.
All right, I forgot to record me asking the question, but the question is, how long and how do you prep for your exams? And also, how do you balance it all?
How I prep is basically, if I have a lecture and I watch that lecture, whether it's live or whether that's recorded, I'm going to take notes during that lecture. Then after that, I will review those notes either that evening or the next day, and then basically move on from it. This is what I found works for me. I think at the beginning I got so overwhelmed and I've got to review, when am I going to have time to review my notes more than just one time? And to be completely honest, sometimes it doesn't even happen one time. I mean, sometimes there are some weeks that are just so crazy that I'm not even able to review my notes that evening or the next day. I review my notes maybe when I'm starting my test week prep. So it can get really crazy, and I definitely in the past have completely overwhelmed myself just mentally, thinking like, there's no way I'm going to be prepared for this exam. There's no way. I mean, I haven't even looked at my notes from week 5, I'm just now looking at them. I mean, it's so easy to get caught up in that. But just like you're going to hear every other chiropractic school student say, or at least I have, you're more prepared than you think you are, and you're learning more than you think you are. So if you are watching those lectures and you are taking notes, you absorb way more than you think you do. It's so interesting because in undergrad, that wasn't how it was. But for some reason in grad school, when I listen to a lecture, I actually do absorb way more than I was ever able to in undergrad. So I don't know if it's just because the information is more interesting, or if my body and mind and brain have adapted to this is how it has to be for you to learn anything. I think it's more of that. I don't know, but for me, that's what it is. When I listen to a lecture, I've become more of an auditory learner. And I think that's just because I've literally had to adapt to that. Like, I've literally had to become that, or else sometimes what else am I going to do? Because sometimes I only have time to listen to the lecture for that day. Maybe I'm on the road or something and I don't have the time to take notes that day, whatever it may be. My biggest lesson through chiropractic school has been adapt, which again, I think is a beautiful example of chiropractic and being a student of chiropractic, because that's what chiropractic's all about, right? Adaptability. And so you really just adapt to each class and figure out which way is best for each class. And this just turned into a whole rant on adaptability, but keep that in mind, that you're capable of adapting, your body is capable of adapting, your brain is capable of it. So have faith in that and trust that you know more than you think you know. But to actually answer your question, I'm just gonna answer this in an exam week prep. So my exam week prep, if I have an exam, let's say on a Thursday of a week, I will start really preparing for that exam probably no later than Monday of that week. And what I mean by that is I start reviewing notes. I start looking for Quizlets online that maybe are already made. I start making my own Quizlet. It really depends on the information. If I have the time, I might make my own Quizlet. But if I find a Quizlet that has the information that I'm going to be inputting into a Quizlet, then I will just use that. And that is such a cool thing about chiropractic school, is everybody's on your side. It's not this cutthroat mentality. Everybody's there to help. Like I said earlier, our class officers are incredible. So thankful for them. Our entire class, shout out Try To, is really great, really supportive. And we have just this support system of Quizlet links, Kahoot links, anything, notes, anything to help another person study. People are constantly throwing those links out in our chats and in our Microsoft Teams and everything. So for me, I start reviewing my notes no later than, that Monday. And then as I get closer to the exam, what I've found to work for me with Try To, because, and I can do a whole other video on this, but Try To has been way more overwhelming than Try One. So I don't have the capacity to make my own study guides for every class like I did in Try One. And don't get me wrong, in Try One, that was super helpful. Like, that was the way to go for me in Try One, but Try Two, just no way to do it. And so what I'll do, like the night before the exam, and even the night before 2 nights before the exam to a night before the exam, and the morning of the exam, if I have time, I will use those Quizlet links and those Kahoot links that my classmates have made. And it has made a world of a difference, because they've made these questions similar to test questions. They've made this, these study materials that are directly from our professor's lectures. And so it's exactly what I need to be studying. And I find it very quick and easy, because it's like quick quizzes right before the exam. And I find that helps me. What I did in Try One was I would basically do that Quizlet or Kahoot, but I would make it in my own notes. So I would maybe read a chapter, and then from that chapter, I would make 3 to 5 potential test questions that I think that the professor would ask. That is gold. That is my way of studying for sure. But in Try To, for some of the classes, I don't have the time, I don't have the capacity, and other people clearly do. They thrive off of making them. And so it works out for people like me who just ain't got the time, or I just don't have it anymore, I feel like. So I'm just so thankful for our class. And I have made a few Quizlets, and when I make Quizlets or Kahoots, I've never made a Kahoot, but Quizlets, I will throw it in the GroupMe, because they have helped me so much, and it's the least I can do to just try to help somebody else. But that is how I prep. So I do my own studying for the first few days a week before the test, and then the night before the exam, the morning of the exam, I am using those Quizlets or Kahoot links that my classmates or upper Try students have made. So the follow-up question to that question is, how do you balance it? That's an interesting question, because I don't even know if I'm balancing it. Okay. Try To, like I said, has been a different animal for me. There's probably many reasons why, but my biggest tips of balancing chiropractic school is organization, discipline, support system, and the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm serious. Okay, the next one. Somebody asked how you start your morning for the test and what helps with test anxiety too. Love that question. Mornings for me are huge. Not that I'm a huge morning person, but when I wake up, I like to have some time to myself. So I like to take my time getting ready. I like to take my time making a nice little breakfast, and my husband, makes coffee every morning for us, and I like, pouring my creamer in my coffee or frothing it up or whatever. I just like having my time, whether that's 30 minutes or an hour or whatever it may be. I would love to be the girl who works out in the morning, but oh girl, I can barely get out of bed because I just like to be so cozy in this bed, and this bed is cozy. It's hard to get up in the morning, but test mornings especially, I like to have my mornings. So literally what I'll do is, and I don't even think I've showed all of this in the vlog, but what I do is I wake up, usually to my alarm, of course, but usually the second thing that wakes me up is our coffee grinder when my husband's grinding the coffee in the morning. I'll wake up, I'll get out of bed, I will log on to Blackboard. Okay, this is so important because if you have an 8 a.m. test and you try to log on to Blackboard or whatever software that your school uses, I'm sure y'all know, you try to log on to Blackboard at 7:50, 7:55, you ain't getting in that test until 8:30, okay? You have got to log on early, or else it just, you know, everybody's trying to get on at that time, you know, right before the test starts. So if I wake up at 7, I log on to Blackboard immediately. As soon as I get up, I walk to my desk, log on, and then I keep walking and I walk to our bathroom, wash my face, brush my teeth. Maybe I'll put on some mascara or a little makeup. Maybe I won't, just depends on the day. And then I will come back in here, get dressed. I usually try to get dressed in either something comfy like this, or I will usually go ahead and put on my workout clothes. So that way at some point during the day, it's just one less thing I have to do. I can just say, you know what, I'm gonna go work out, and I just go work out. And then after that, I'll head in there. Usually the coffee is made by then. I will make my coffee. I'll make a little breakfast. I'll eat that. I'll chat with my husband before his meetings start. And then I will come back in here and make sure that Blackboard is still alive and well. And I will maybe throw on my diffuser. Usually on test days or just study days, I'll diffuse rosemary and breathe again, and maybe some valor, maybe some stress away. Those are my 4 like test day, study, school go-tos. And then I will, let's say again, my test starts at 8 a.m. I'll put on some rosemary and breathe again, or rosemary and valor, stress away, whatever. Like on my wrists, I'll make a scent tent. I will breathe, take some deep breaths before. I'll say a prayer before. Power poses are great. Our Try To we love us some power poses. And then I will make sure that I have everything that I need. So I personally like to take notes when I test. For example, let's say I'm having trouble on a question, number 3, for example, I will write number 3 on a notepad or my iPad notepad or whatever. I'll write the question that I had trouble with, and then I'll just like keep going through. That way, I just do better that way. I really like taking tests in person, so this whole online thing kind of throws me off a little bit. I know you can technically go back and look at the ones that you missed or didn't put answers to or whatever, but since the tests are online, if I run out of time, even if I'm having trouble on a question, so let's say I'm having trouble on question 3, right? I'm not gonna just leave it blank, because if for some reason my test submits or I run out of time at the very end, I don't want to have a question blank. So I will put my best guess, but I'll write somewhere else that I had trouble on question 3. So that way if I get to the end of the test and I still have time, I know which questions to immediately go back to. Hopefully that makes sense. So anyways, I will get out notes. I'm trying to think what else. Start my diffuser. I'll make sure I have my coffee there. I always have a glass of water next to me too. Lights on, fan on, just kind of get the vibe right. And then if I have time before my test, I will open up one of those Quizlet or Kahoots that I was telling y'all about earlier, and I'll run through those, or maybe I'll just open up my notes and look at those learning objectives and kind of, you know, see a learning objective and then think, okay, what do I know about the back muscles or whatever? You know, what do I know about the urea cycle? And I'll just kind of start brainstorming and thinking of all the things that I know, just as kind of a brain warm up. And then when test time rolls around, I will start my test. And that's pretty much how I prep in the mornings for tests, especially when I have 8 a.m. tests or 9 a.m. tests or whatever. That's what I do. All right, this next one. How do you handle the transition of taking multiple tests in a day? That's a great question. So, gosh, and try to, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we only had more than 2 tests a handful of time, like more than 2 tests in a day, a handful of times. And that was probably, majority of that was probably during finals week. So try to, honestly, I don't even know if we've had more than 2 tests in a day yet. So again, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, because I can remember stuff about the human body, but I cannot remember anything about my schedule. So somebody help me out with that. But you know, it can be a lot for sure, but when you're in it, and I talked about this earlier, when you're in it, it's all about adaptation. I mean, you just adapt to it. It is what it is. You can't change it. You adapt. So for me, it's making sure that I feel as prepared as possible. And sometimes as prepared as possible for me is like a 5 on a 1 out of 10 scale of preparedness. But you just have to do it. So multiple tests in a day for me look like making sure that I have a good morning routine. I just described it to y'all. I like to have my mornings. It just makes me feel like I'm in control of the day. I had a good start to my morning. Now let's continue that throughout. I like to work out at some point, or at least move my body if possible. Usually our tests are spread out enough to where I can do that. So for example, we'll have maybe an 8 a.m. test and then maybe a 10 a.m. test, but that 10 a.m. test is open until 11:59. So even though I have an 8 a.m. test that closes within that hour and another test at 10 a.m., it seems so close together, I can technically take it at 6 p.m. at night if I really wanted to. So yeah, it really just depends on the day, but just making sure that I have a good morning really changes things for me. Praying in between each test, kind of resetting, that just allows me to reset, and movement throughout the day. In my vlog, I don't know if I can't remember, I edited most of it a few days ago, but getting sunshine. So I try to go out on our balcony as many times during a day as I can. So, and this is so important for me, especially on test days, because I just am sitting at my desk, you know, for that hour and a half or whatever, however long the test is, grinding, you know, just like totally brain is working, all that jazz. And so to get up and just breathe fresh air, have some sun hit my face, you know, it helps me reset as well. And then eating well keeps my brain fueled. Drinking lots of water, usually lots of coffee, but make sure you're drinking lots of water if you are drinking lots of coffee. So that's how I handle it. The transition, I just try to truly reset. And for me, the things that help me reset are prayer, movement, sunshine, you know, nutrition for my brain, a fresh cup of coffee, and lots of water. Okay, the next one asks, have you seen any students form a study group? Yes, I have. Our try actually, I would say at least once a week, maybe once every couple of weeks. I mean, fairly often we'll meet on Microsoft Teams and review whatever test we have coming up that week. So study groups definitely form virtually even. One of my really good friends we study quite often together, or even if we're not able to get together to study, I mean, we're constantly texting each other, you know, hey, what does she mean by this? Or what does he mean by that? You know, I interpreted it this way, but I saw in the group me that somebody interpreted it a different way. How did you interpret it? And so we're constantly texting back and forth, even if we're not face-to-face studying for hours on end. But there are definitely study groups, and also there's tutoring online. So I guess you could consider that a study group as well. There's specific times for each class on, you know, when they meet, and so you can join in virtually onto those meetings and study with that group. So yes. So the last question asks, are the professors setting you up clearly enough to know the material for exams? Which is such a neat question. I love how you're already thinking about, okay, am I going to actually be, you know, are the professors that I'm going to have in the future, are they actually preparing me for exams? And the short answer is yes. The long answer is, like I've been saying this whole time, each class you're going to have to adapt to and figure out what works best to study the way that this professor teaches, to study the lectures that this professor provides, and to study for the exams that this professor writes, more importantly. And I have a few tips aside from what I've already told y'all. So obviously, figure out the best way for you to study. And if that takes you a couple of weeks, it's totally normal. If that takes you the whole try one, that's totally normal. Don't freak out. Don't give up. Just keep trying, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and to try to figure out what works for you. The second thing I would recommend is reach out to upper trimester students, which obviously if you're asking these questions, you're already doing. So I really, really applaud all of y'all for asking questions. Specifically ask us, and I encourage try twos, you know, let's ask even higher tries than us, what the heck do I study for exam 3 in Dr. So-and-so's class? Or what in the world do I focus on for the final in micro? You know, ask those upper tries those specific questions, especially in those classes that you feel really overwhelmed in. And for me, those classes are microbiology and physiology. It's a lot of information for me to take in, at least, and I always find myself, when I look at my calendar and see that I have an exam coming up in those classes that week, I'm just like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna do this? I don't feel like I know anything from since the last exam. How am I about to take an exam in 3 days, or, a week, or whatever it is? So what I'll usually do is text my upper try friends, and I'm just like, hey, I feel so overwhelmed. What would you suggest me studying for this exam? Or what helped you prepare for Dr. So-and-so's exams? So those are my two biggest pieces of advice when it comes to the preparedness for the exams, which kind of ties into a previous question. But short answer is yes, your professors are doing everything that they can to give you the resources for their exams. And even for boards, like Dr. Sarkar in biochem, he is always saying, yep, they ask you this on boards, you better be ready for that, mark that, know that. So they're even preparing you for boards, which is great. But the resources that they give are awesome. And if it seems like you're struggling with what they're giving you, reach out to them. They're more than willing to help or provide you extra resources. I mean, in our physiology class, the resources that she provides, I'm telling you, you click on a week folder, like a week 9 folder, or week 8 folder, whatever week it is, y'all, she's got the notes, she's got the lecture videos, she's got YouTube video links, article links, all kinds of stuff. And she even is always saying, or emailing, or putting in like her announcements, let me know if you need anything else. And I'm just like, girl, how you providing us with the whole encyclopedia? Whatever. But whatever. Anyways, they're more than willing to help. And so don't be afraid to reach out to your professors if you are needing more, or if you are needing some guidance on how to study. Never be ashamed of that. And then also tutoring, there's tutoring resources that all of the professors highly recommend going to as well. So your professors are on your side, most of them at least, and don't forget that. I think sometimes professors can do things where we're like, why would they do that? And don't get me wrong, it's hard not to do that sometimes. You know, you get an exam that totally kicks your butt and you're just like, how was I supposed to be ready for that? You know, but try to see the positive in it, whatever it may be, and just try to move past it and think, what can I do different to be better next time? That's my best piece of advice when it comes to difficult professors or difficult classes. But that was my long answer to answer that question. They do prepare you. And like I've been saying this whole time, you know more than you think you know in the moment. And every exam, every single exam, I am reminded of that. Like once I start the exam, don't get me wrong, there are some questions on there where I'm like, I don't even know sometimes. But then there's those exams that you're just like, I know this, I know this, I know this. Like it's such a confidence booster. And y'all, that happened literally Thursday. I only vlogged Tuesday's exam day. I honestly should have vlogged Thursday's exam day. And maybe I will do a whole video on Thursday's exam day, because I had an 8 a.m. exam, totally kicked my butt. I mean, got off, texted Skylar and was like, yeah, pray for my gross anatomy pray for my gross anatomy grade, because that was hurtful to my soul. Now everybody else felt like that too, so it didn't make me feel as bad. It made me feel like, okay, I'm not alone in this. But then in biochem, we brought it back and the confidence came back. So just know that if you don't have it here, you might have it here, and figure out what you need to do to get better in the area that you felt weak in. And so for gross anatomy, what have I been studying this past week or since Thursday? Gross anatomy. I will tell you, I did take a break. Okay, I'm not crazy and I didn't just study the whole weekend, but that's what I am, you know, preparing for a little bit harder this week, because clearly I need to prepare more. And that's what tests are all about, right? They're supposed to reveal, you know, they're supposed to truly test your strength in a class. And so if you find that you're not strong in it, just take it as a lesson and move on and try to become stronger in it. I hope that helped. Y'all, that was such a rant. I really hope that that helped, and I will work on condensing my answers to all of your questions. But this week was wild. We had 4 exams, and I just felt like I had a lot on my mind, on my heart to say about some of those things. And so apologies if I ran a little bit long on that. Feel free to speed me up in the bottom corner of this YouTube video. But if you are struggling in school, I totally feel you. If you are succeeding in school, I feel you too. Like I feel for you no matter where you're at on your journey, basically. You're not alone in this. If you feel alone, you're not. Chiropractic school is so hard. And sometimes some of our family and friends can't see that because they don't see all the hours we spend studying, or the professors that maybe frustrate us at times, or, you know, the exams that make us feel not very smart. But you're not alone in that. And every chiropractic school student goes through ups and downs. And just learn as much as you can while you're here, because we're not going to be in school very long. And what an opportunity we have to just be sponges and soak it all up, the good and the bad, and keep our feet moving, right? So let's do it. Let's have another good week. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you have not, and share this video with somebody who you think could benefit from it. Maybe it's a chiropractic school student, maybe it's a med school student, maybe it's a PT school student, maybe it's an undergrad student. I don't know, just somebody. I don't know. But like and subscribe this video if you did like it, and subscribe this video. That doesn't make sense. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe to my channel if you want more, and comment below if you have any questions or comments. I love to chat with you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.